Man, something feels different in the golf world right now, and it's not about tournaments or rankings. It's about a name we've all followed for decades, Phil Mickelson. At 56 years old, a man who has given us some of the greatest moments in golf history is suddenly disappearing. Not from the leaderboards, from everything. His wife of 40 years, his career, his reputation, all of it seems to be crumbling at once. You've probably noticed. He's missing majors. He's missing tournaments he used to own. And every time someone asks why, we get the same answer: family health matter. But here's the thing, that answer never felt complete. It felt like a shield. And now we're starting to understand why. Because behind that shield, something much darker has been hiding. Allegations that span years. Patterns of behavior that golf's culture of silence protected for too long. And a woman who stood by him for 4 decades, now facing questions she never thought she'd have to answer. Here's my take. I think most golf fans have been asking the wrong question. The question isn't, is Phil coming back? The real question is, what actually happened that made him leave in the first place? Do you agree? Or do you think this is all being blown out of proportion? So let's go back, not to his wins, not to his records, but to the moments nobody talked about, the ones that changed everything. Because what I'm about to share with you, it's not just gossip, it's a pattern that goes back years. And once you see it, you'll understand why Phil Mickelson's life is falling apart right now. If you're a real golf fan who actually cares about the truth behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button, because we're about to go deeper than any mainstream coverage has gone. But before we get there, I need you to understand something. This isn't just one story. It's a collection of moments that, when connected, paint a picture nobody wants to look at. And the first moment, it happened at a tournament you definitely remember, the 2015 Barclays tournament. That's where this story really starts. Phil Mickelson was at the height of his career. 5 majors, millions in the bank, the adoration of golf fans everywhere. But according to Ashley Perez, something happened at that tournament that nobody knew about. Something that would eventually become the first crack in the perfect image. Ashley was married to fellow pro Pat Perez at the time. She was at the tournament like she always was, supporting her husband, being part of the golf community. But then she says Phil did something that changed everything. He allegedly showed her a nude photo of himself. And that wasn't all. He told her he would leave his bedroom door open that night and wanted her to come see him after Pat fell asleep. Think about that for a second. A golf legend at a PGA Tour event making that kind of advance toward another player's wife. It's the kind of story that sounds unbelievable. Except Ashley didn't stay quiet. Years later, she told journalist Alan Shipnuck exactly what happened. And she said something that still haunts me. She said there is a culture of silence in golf that keeps women from coming forward. She said people have been afraid to go public because it's Phil Mickelson. That line tells you everything. It's not just about one incident. It's about a system that protected him for years. Because Phil wasn't just any player. He was the fan favorite. The guy who smiled and waved. The guy who signed every autograph. The guy who seemed like he could do no wrong. And when you're that beloved, people look the other way. People make excuses. People say it's just a misunderstanding. But Ashley Perez wasn't the only one. She was just the first to speak. And once she did, the door opened for others. For more allegations. For more women who had been keeping their own secrets. For a pattern that had been hiding in plain sight. That one allegation would have been enough to end anyone's reputation. But it was only the beginning. Because fast forward to spring 2026, the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe. This is where the second allegation comes from. And this one is even more troubling. A female employee at the club accused Phil of non-consensual and inappropriate physical contact. Let that sink in. Non-consensual. That's not a misunderstanding. That's not a joke that went too far. That's something much more serious. And here's the detail that makes this story so shocking. Phil was reportedly removed from the course mid-round. He was actually playing golf, and they pulled him off. Imagine that scene. A 6-time major champion, escorted away from a round of golf like he was nobody. His camp immediately called it a misunderstanding. But when you're pulled off a golf course in the middle of a round, it's not a misunderstanding. Something happened. And it was serious enough that the club took immediate action. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, okay, this is bad. 2 allegations. One from 2015, one from 2026. But maybe they're isolated incidents. Maybe they're just random accusations against a famous person. That's what Phil's team wants you to think. But then we find out about the third allegation. And this one changes everything. Because according to reports, Phil had been cheating on Amy at the Madison Club in La Quinta, California, and this wasn't just a one-time thing. This was a pattern, a system, a deliberate deception that went on for years. And the most unbelievable part? Amy tracked his phone. She actually tracked his phone and discovered what he was doing. And Phil allegedly paid a young man $500 to drive his phone around the course so it would look like he was still playing golf. Think about that. He paid someone to carry his phone so his wife wouldn't know where he really was. He created a decoy, a distraction, while he went off to do things that would destroy his marriage if she ever found out. And she did find out, because when you're tracking someone's phone and they're in a place they shouldn't be, the truth eventually comes out. Amy demanded he leave the Madison Club in 2021. She made him leave. That's how serious this was. She discovered the pattern of deception, the hidden meetings, the betrayal of trust, and she forced him out of that club. And when you think about it, this is what makes the whole story so tragic. She knew for years, and she stayed. She stayed through the allegations, through the cheating, through everything. She discovered the truth, but what she did next shocked everyone. Because when all of this came out, when the allegations became public, Amy didn't leave him. She didn't file for divorce. She didn't release a statement condemning him. In fact, she did the opposite. Through Phil's spokesperson, she issued a statement that surprised everyone. She said she supports him with extraordinary grace and unwavering love. She said recovery is not a straight line. She talked about their 35-year relationship and how she's been standing by him through all of this. Wait, she supports him? After everything? After the nude photo, after the Farms Club incident, after the Madison Club betrayal? How is that possible? How do you stand by someone who did all of that? And this is where the story gets even more complicated. Because Amy's words say one thing, but her actions tell a different story. She tracked his phone. She made him leave the Madison Club. She reportedly demanded changes. Those are not the actions of someone who just forgave and moved on. So why is she still there? Why is she publicly supporting him? The answer might be in something Phil's camp has been saying all along: the family health matter. According to reports, one of their children has been unwell, and that changes everything. Because when your child is struggling, when your family is facing something serious, sometimes you make choices that don't make sense to outsiders. Sometimes you stay for reasons that have nothing to do with love or forgiveness. And this is where I want you to think about Amy as more than just Phil's wife. She's a mother. She's a woman who built a life with this man for 40 years. She's someone who had to choose between protecting her family's image and exposing the truth. And she chose to protect. She chose the public statement of support. She chose to stand by him. But make no mistake, that doesn't mean she forgot. That doesn't mean she forgave. It means she made a choice that we can't fully understand from the outside. Her public words said one thing, but the real question is, what did she actually do behind the scenes? Because behind the scenes, things were very different. Behind the scenes, Phil was forced to leave clubs. Behind the scenes, his marriage was in crisis. Behind the scenes, he was missing tournaments not just because of family health, but because his life was falling apart. And now, at 56 years old, a man who once seemed invincible is facing the consequences of decades of behavior that finally caught up with him. Phil's team has responded, of course. They've pushed back against the allegations. They've said some of the allegations are false, and others revisit mistakes he's already acknowledged. They've said he's never been expelled from a golf club, that his membership has never been revoked, that those decisions were his alone. They've attacked the journalist, Alan Shipnuck, calling his investigation an anonymously sourced drive-by shooting. They've pointed out that Shipnuck's platform, Scratch, has corporate ties to the PGA Tour, which has a conflict of interest with LIV Golf's Phil. But here's the thing about Phil's defense. It's selective. He admits some mistakes while denying others. He attacks the messenger instead of addressing the message. He uses family health as a shield while his reputation burns around him. And the more he fights, the more it looks like he's hiding something. Because if all of this was really a misunderstanding, wouldn't he just come out and explain it? Wouldn't he sit down and tell his side of the story? Instead, we get press releases. We get statements from spokespeople. We get legal threats and credibility attacks. But we don't get Phil. But while Phil fought the allegations, something else was quietly happening. His career was disappearing. Let's talk about that career for a moment, because this is where the fall really hits hard. Phil Mickelson, at 56 years old, is missing all 4 majors for the first time since 1990. Think about that. He's been playing in majors for over 3 decades, and now, suddenly, he's not there. He withdrew from the Masters. He withdrew from the PGA Championship. He didn't get a special invitation to the US Open because his exemption had expired, and he's withdrawn from the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. That's not just a bad year. That's a collapse. A six-time major champion, a man who made history by winning the PGA Championship at 50 years old, now can't even get into the tournaments he used to dominate. And the reasons keep changing. Family health matter, personal reasons, never a clear answer, never the full truth. And then there's LIV Golf. Phil was one of the biggest names to join the Saudi-backed circuit. He was the poster boy for the rebellion. He was the one who said the PGA Tour's obnoxious greed was driving players away. He was the one who took the money and ran. But now, LIV Golf is facing institutional headwinds. The PGA Tour has constructed a reinstatement pathway that's widely seen as designed to exclude him. And at 56, with his reputation in tatters, where does he go? What does he do? He was once the most beloved player in golf. The fans adored him. The media loved him. He was Tiger Woods' rival and the people's champion. And now, he can't even get into the tournaments he used to own. The fall from grace is almost too fast to process. One moment he's winning majors and smiling for the cameras. The next moment, he's being pulled off a golf course. His marriage is in crisis, and his career is over. He was once the most beloved player in golf. Now he can't even get into the tournaments he used to own. So let's step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Because this isn't just about Phil Mickelson. This is about a culture that protected him for decades. Ashley Perez said it herself. There is a culture of silence in golf that keeps women from coming forward. People were afraid to go public because it was Phil Mickelson. And she was right. For years, Phil could do no wrong. He was the golden boy, the fan favorite, the guy who gave you a thumbs up and a wink. And that image protected him. It allowed him to behave in ways that would have destroyed anyone else's career. It allowed people to look the other way, to make excuses, to say it was just a misunderstanding. And it allowed Phil to continue this pattern of behavior for years without consequences. But now, those consequences have arrived, and they're devastating. His reputation is ruined. His marriage is in crisis. His career is effectively over. And the system that protected him is finally being exposed. Because the truth is, Phil Mickelson wasn't just a man who made mistakes. He was a man who was enabled. He was a man who was protected. And he was a man who never had to face the music until it was too late. The allegations, the marriage, the career, all connected, all part of the same story. And what that story tells us is that fame, money, and adoration can't protect you from the truth. Eventually, the truth comes out. Eventually, you have to face what you've done. And eventually, the people who loved you have to decide if they can still love who you've become. The allegations, the marriage, the career, all connected. But there's still one question left unanswered. So where does Phil go from here? That's the question we're all asking. Will Amy actually divorce him? Right now, there's no formal filing, no official separation. She's still publicly supporting him. But is that real support? Or is it just for appearances? Is she staying because she loves him? Or because she's protecting her family from more scandal? We don't know. And maybe we never will. But what we do know is this. Phil Mickelson is 56 years old. He's been married for 40 years. He's facing multiple allegations of misconduct. His career is in ruins. And the future is completely uncertain. He might never play a major again. He might never be welcomed back to the PGA Tour. He might lose everything he built over a lifetime. And all of it, every single piece of it, is connected to the choices he made. Can he make it back? Can he rebuild his reputation? Can he save his marriage? Maybe. But it won't be easy. Because when you've spent decades being protected by a culture of silence, and that silence finally breaks, there's no going back. There's only moving forward. And moving forward means facing the truth. Not the PR spin. Not the family health matter. Not the attacks on journalists. The real truth. And that's what I want to leave you with. Because you clicked on this video for a reason. You wanted to know what's really happening with Phil Mickelson. And now you know. It's not just about a divorce. It's not just about allegations. It's about a man who built a legendary career and then watched it all crumble because he couldn't control himself. It's about a wife who stood by him through everything, even when she had every reason to walk away. It's about a culture that protected him and finally held him accountable. So here's my final question to you. After everything we've covered, what do you think? Should Amy have stayed? Should she have left? And do you believe Phil can ever make this right? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you really think. And if you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of golf fan this channel is built for. Hit that subscribe button. We're covering the stories that matter, the ones that go beyond the scorecards. Because real golf fans don't just watch the game, they understand it. And now, you understand this story better than most. Thanks for sticking with me. This one wasn't easy, but the truth never is.